Welcome back, everybody, to the KS Moto Cafe. Hope you guys had a great week. This week's episode is going to be my review of the 2020 Harley Sportster Roadster. And the reason why I'm doing a 2020 version is because Harley decided not to make the 2021 version of the Roadster for the reasons unknown. Roadsters are like bells and whistles of all Sportsters. It has everything you need to be on the road and have a lot of fun. So let's click that intro button and let's get started. So before I begin, I just wanted to say congratulations to our last month's KS Moto Cafe winner, Critter Moto. I did talk to him in Instagram, and he has graciously donated the $25 to the next month's draw, making the month of March $50 giveaway. So if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe now and start commenting away so you can have a chance to win $50 either from Redzilla or Fort9. If you watch my review of the 2021 Sportster 48, you'll know that I'm heading towards the same direction, which is Barnes Harley dealership in Victoria. Barnes Harley dealership is the #1 biggest dealership in British Columbia and Canada, and they have their stores in Victoria, Langley, and Kamloops. And I'll be meeting up with Steve, who is our favorite ex-military sales consultant for Harley Davidson, and you'll get to meet him once again, where he's going to show us the Harley 2020 Roadster that they're selling at their dealership. Hello. How's it going, Steve?
Good. Hey, good morning, my man. How you doing?
Hey, good. Good.
Life is good?
Yeah.
I'll ask you people the same two questions I've been asking myself. Give me a hell yeah.
Wow, so this is the Harley 1200 Roadster from 2020. It's a beautiful looking bike. I'm almost very tempted to trade my bike in already. Love the all black look here. Kind of resembles the 48 with the actual chrome, but they blacked out some parts of the actual shield. The biggest thing that I really like about the Roadster really is the shocks. You get 3 more inches of the travel at the rear and then inverted fork up in the front. It's a slightly different setup than the 883, so let's just get comfortable with it by getting on top of it, because it is a little bit taller bike, and I can say as a 30-inch inseam I can comfortably flat foot it, but I can definitely tell it's slightly taller. Now the seat, even though it looks cushier, it actually is really hard on the bottom side. It's like sitting almost on a rock with slight padding on it, but we'll see how that goes. So right off the bat, the one thing that you can tell the difference is that the handlebar is actually angled downwards. This is more of a cafe racer type of motorcycle where you're leaning forward, a little bit more sporty style, where you're closer to the gas tank. The gas tank itself is still the same as the Sportster 883 irons or 1200 iron, which is 3.3 gallons. Now you'll notice right away, another big difference is they have upgraded from the Sportster Iron models, the analog tachometer in the top, and then you got the speedometer on the bottom with the readings of different types of reading that you get by clicking your instrument switch button on the left. So you got your trip A, trip B, you got your time, and then as well as you got the RPM reading. In terms of what the controls are on the handlebar, it's exactly the same as my iron. So again, you got your instrument cycle system on the left, you got your horn, and then you got your high beam, low beam, and then you got your left signal, which self-cancels. And then on the right, again, you got your right signal, which self-cancels. You got your power on, power off. You got hazard lights. And then you got your ignition startup. Glad to see that the mirrors are on top because the 48 that I reviewed a couple weeks ago was on the bottom. But again, depending on your height and your riding style, if you want to switch these to the bottom, all you gotta do is take them out and switch left and right. Before you do any test rides, you need to get comfortable with the bike first. So I want to try to test the friction zone of this motorcycle, if it's any different than the 48 1200 that I tested a couple weeks ago. And then to see how it handles on just slow speed maneuvers to ensure that I have a little bit more confidence on this bike. So let's turn this bike on. Interestingly enough, this bike, this Sportster actually has the best sounding stock pipes. It is very, very throaty. Everything seems to be decent. It is mid-control, just like my Iron, so I can get used to that. Let's see how it goes for slow maneuvers. I must say the handle already, it feels slightly awkward just because I am leaned forward. But just like the 1248, like it's got really punchy start compared to my Iron 883. Now, one thing to note is that Harley used to make a Roadster called XR1200, and this is not the same bike. The XR1200 actually produced about 91 horsepower, where this one's more about in the 70s. And even though this is kind of has resemblance of the XR1200, it's not the same bike. Okay, I can get used to this. So I find myself already kind of like pressuring forward a lot. I can feel my weight a little bit more on the front end where I'm gripping it a little bit harder. The riding stance, as I keep doing the loops here, is starting to get a little bit more comfortable to what the bike wants me to do. Slow maneuver seems okay. Now, even though it's mid-control, just by changing the angle of the handlebar changes the way I ride quite a lot. I do find the flickability slightly less right now at slow maneuvers because of the angle of the bar. I find that I have to actually do a little bit more counter steering compared to my Iron, where the handlebar is slightly higher, and really I can use the handlebar to do a little bit of flicking maneuvers. So I think I got the general confidence on the bike itself. Let's just pause, change my battery, and get her going.
Few minutes later.
Okay, so now that I got a little bit more confidence on the motorcycle here and knowing its friction zone, let's go for a test ride where we test out its turns, braking, and as well as overall comfort in the ride like this. You know what, with the ride a little bit different, I think I need to angle the camera slightly higher. There you go. One thing I like about the 1200s though is that the engine sounds so much more tuned in. There's a lot less shaking than the 883, and it really sounds a lot more smoother when it comes out of the exhaust pipes. Let's get going. So one thing I already noticed, again, I'm not really a big fan of this drag handlebar angle downwards because I find that my thumb has to extend quite a bit to turn on the turn signals. Maybe it's something that I'm going to get used to as I ride, but that's something I noticed right away. I do like this digital reader here, but I can tell that with a lot of sunlight it might be a little bit more difficult to see, and I do find myself kind of looking downwards to find out how fast I'm going. Now, surprisingly enough, the initial reaction I had when I sat on this motorcycle was that the seat was really hard, but as I'm riding right now, it actually feels quite soft, and I think it has to do with the backing of the actual seat. It kind of catches my butt like a glove, and it feels nice on my butt. Now, one thing I really like about this motorcycle is that it does have upgraded suspension in the front and the rear. So you got 3.1 inches of travel in the back, whereas my Iron actually only has about 1. So it makes a big difference on your riding comfort. And the lean angle of this motorcycle is actually 2 degrees higher than my Harley Iron 83. The downshifting feels nice, it's a bit more smoother. One thing to note is that this is still a 5-speed motorcycle, so you are kind of limited to playing around with the 5 gears, but comparatively to the 83, you got a lot more space to play around with, so you can get up to 100, I think, at the 3rd gear, whereas I really got to work on it for my 883 to get up to 100 kilometers per hour in the 3rd gear. The brakes feels really nice thanks to the dual disc that this Roadster has. Slow maneuvers feel pretty good. The turns feel pretty good. Yeah. See, my back's not hurting at all going over the speed bumps. Now, it is a taller ride, so if you have short inseams, let's say less than 30 inches, you are going to be tiptoeing a lot, and it is a heavier bike, 10 pounds heavier than my Iron 883. Not that it makes a lot of a difference, but because it has a taller seat, I would recommend it a little bit for a taller rider. The power feels very responsive, just like the 48. It has slightly more punchier start, but it's not something that is scary, and I would almost say like it's not too much for a beginner rider, as long as you respect the throttle. The bike feels a lot more planted, and the fact that I'm higher off the ground, it kind of gives me a little bit more of command presence on the road, which I really enjoy, as well as my field of vision is actually a lot wider, because usually all my instrument cluster, mirrors, and all stuff like that is about up here, so it kind of gets in the way of seeing things. But because it's slightly lower, I do find that I can actually see a lot more, and it's pretty refreshing to see that. I haven't really even touched the 4th gear yet because I'm on city roads. So let's see if I can hit on the highway just to get that, just to see if I can hit that 5th gear and how that responds to higher speeds. I really like the brake system here. It's super responsive. Now, one thing to note about the Roadster is that it is the top of the line Sportsters. It has everything you want on a motorcycle, and Harley just kind of packaged it up for you, so you get everything out as a stock bike. You got the upgraded instrument meter here, as well as inverter forks, which is a lot thicker too. You got the dual discs. You got 2 up seats with the actual passenger pegs, which on the Irons you would have to purchase that separately, at least for the 883. And then you got a bigger air intake system, so I would assume that if I had to do an upgrade on my 883, it's going to cost me a lot more money to do all that stuff compared to if I just went with the Roadster or traded in for a Roadster. Now, the sound quality of this might get really bad once I get on the highway, but I'll see if I can talk it through. And it's a Canadian highway, we don't really go that fast here. Oh, Jesus. Oops, going a little too fast. Yeah, this has a lot of pull, and honestly it feels so much more comfortable on higher speed compared to the 883. Like, it must be the angle that I'm riding in, because I don't feel that much wind on my chest at all. 4th gear. I'm on CRB. Yeah, this Roadster feels a lot better on the highway. I think this is where it truly shines. Usually at this point, my Iron 83 would be shaking a little bit. Not to the point where it's like super uncomfortable, but enough to be very cautious about the speed I'm going at. This one I can tell I got like I'm probably only hitting half the speed that it can do. Here we go. Yeah, it's going. And I feel super confident on the road. Yeah, she's good. Oh my god, I love it! Holy crap! I gotta slow down. Sorry, Harley. It's fucking sweet! Holy shit! Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is a good bike. Extremely good bike. Oh. Okay, so I may have bored you already with all the slow maneuver stuff like that, but man, once you get up to speed, this motorcycle belongs in the highway. Now, it's not a most comfortable ride, I don't think. Like, I don't think you'll be on this for hours and hours. But for little commuting, like on the highway, it is fun. And the flickability comes when this bike goes actually at a higher speed. So I can really see the reason why we have the handlebars at a lower angle, because yeah, this bike is meant for higher speeds. I love it. Oh, I just want to ride this more now.
Round 2.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say how fast I'm going right now because I don't want to get in trouble. But it's definitely faster than I've gone on my Iron 83. And it feels very comfortable. Oh my gosh. It just got more and more juice that it can give you. Oh, I wish I could ride a little bit more, but because this is a brand new motorcycle, I am limited on how many kilometers I can take this bad boy out on. But yeah, she is fun to ride. Let's see if I can do a little bit of brake testing and just a slight more acceleration test because I want to keep this bike a little bit longer. What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on, man. And as I ride a little bit longer, I can definitely feel the difference between the suspension of my Iron 883 and this one. Because this one has a bit more absorption on the rear and the front, it is a lot more comfortable to ride on. Going over little bumps like this, I almost don't even feel it. You could probably even notice it from my voice. Like it's not vibrating a lot, and that's because the engine is actually running pretty smoothly. Let's do a quick brake test here. I'll go up to 60 kilometers per hour. And then let's see if I can stop right here. Yeah, she grips really well. And I don't even feel like I'm losing that much control. So brakes are good. Definitely better than any of the Sportsters that I rode. One thing I really like about all the Sportsters is that the shifting feels so nice. I love knowing when I shift it up or down. I hate clutch systems where you don't really know if you actually went up or down. I love how these motorcycles, these Sportsters, have really good low-end torque. And the best part about this 1200 series is that it's got more punch at the end whereas my Sportster 883 kind of dies down after about 35 to 4,000 RPMs. Now, would I recommend this motorcycle to beginners? Yeah, I think I would, especially if you're a little bit taller, heavier person, heavier than 200 pounds. I think this bike will be definitely more comfortable for you. But again, you gotta learn to use the throttle and respect it, because that goes with any bike. If you buy a bike that is a little bit too big, then you might end up hurting yourself. So let's see if I can do a side-by-side comparison with my Iron 883. Oh man, that was awesome. Hello, 83. So on my right is the Iron 883, which is my personal bike 2020 version, and then on the left is the XL1200 Harley Roadster. It's difficult to tell, both have the 19-inch front wheels. However, in the back, mine goes down to a 16-inch, whereas the Roadster is an 18-inch, which makes the bike slightly more elevated. So as I come into the shot here, I'm about 5'10", and I got a 30-inch inseam on my Iron 83, which has about 26 inches off the ground for my seat height. As you can tell, I'm very comfortable on the bike. I can flat foot this really easily and have some confidence on the road. As my rider triangle, it feels very comfortable. My legs are 90-degree angles like this, and because the handlebars are slightly higher, I do find it a lot more comfortable on slower speed maneuvers. And then moving over to the Roadster 1200 from 2020. As you can tell, the seat height is a lot higher due to the shocks, due to the extended shocks, as well as the rear wheel that is a lot bigger. In terms of the comfort, I can still flat foot this as a 30-inch inseam person. However, I do find myself tiptoeing sometimes when I'm doing quick stops. The rider triangle here, because of the handlebars that are a little bit dipped, I do find that it's a lot more aggressive looking. And initially I did find it kind of annoying to do slow maneuvers, but once I got on the highway, it definitely showed the purpose of why the drag bars were actually lower. So the rider triangle on this motorcycle is a lot more aggressive because of the lowered bars, but as you can tell from my legs, it's still a 90-degree angle because it is a mid-control system and something that I'm already used to. Well, back on my good old 83. Woo! Check out that V-Rod. Sick. So one of the crappy parts of doing better than my bike reviews is the fact that you have to go back on your motorcycle. I love my 883, but if I can put it as an analogy, is my 883 is kind of like the original iPhone with that smaller screen, and then any other bike is like the most up-to-date iPhones out there with a bigger screen. So if you ever use the original iPhone, which is like that big, and then you use a bigger iPhone or any smartphones that's bigger screen, use it for a couple days or maybe even a couple hours, then you go back to your small iPhone. That's kind of what it feels like. So maybe upgrading my bike is in the horizon, who knows. But yeah, that's kind of the flaw of doing a review on a motorcycle that is better than yours. But I do it for you guys, you know. Now, one thing I do enjoy getting my bike back is the handlebar. Because I don't do that much of highway riding, I do prefer more flexibility on the city riding, which Iron 883 definitely brings. But at the same time, I do miss that power. Whew. Another great day at the Barnes Harley Davidson dealership. Thank you, Steve, for letting me try out your bike. I would say the Harley 1200 Roadster is for anybody. Whether you're a beginner or a returning rider or a first-time Harley owner, it has everything that you need to make yourself happy on the bike. It's got enough juice to keep up with other bikes. It's got the comfort to keep you going on longer rides, as well as it's got the looks of being a very sexy, classy looking bike. The only issue is they stopped making it for 2021. So if you're looking for a new Sportster Roadster, it's gonna be slow. It's gonna be very difficult to find if your local dealership doesn't have it. If you're in the British Columbia area or in Canada, check out the Barnes Harley dealership website, because they do have two on their stock, and talk to my man Steve, who can give you a pretty good deal on the Roadster, because they're trying to clear it out. So I hope you enjoyed the 2020 Roadster review, and if this is your second and third time coming back to this channel, please click that subscribe button, because it'll help my channel grow, as well as give you that chance to win that $50 draw for the March giveaway from KS Moto Cafe. So for everyone else, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.